for that. Next one is Christy Leiser-Hager, and that's at Northern Hills as well. They had asked for funding for writing and technology. So it sounds like it is iPad that also has some like technology integrated into it. So they had asked for funding for kind of the an app and iPad. Asked for $1,000, and we did fund that full $1,000, but just wanted to verify with her too that it sounds like it's an ongoing. Maybe the app would be like an annual cost. So we're gonna verify with her on that. Next one, Jody Kopis at Irving Perch. She had asked for 2 separate grants, which one was for iPads, one was for Boom Learning Resources, which I believe is an app within the iPad as well. So she had asked for one grant for iPads, $860, which was fully funded, and then a separate one for the Boom Learning Resources at $530, which also was fully funded at the $530. Next one for Brian Christensen at Northern Hills. I believe that this also has been used before. It's for glass bead mosaic. He asked for $14,1241, which was fully funded as well at that. Next one, Jonathan Idarega at Onalaska High School had asked for art supplies for storytelling in visual texts. Sounds like that's going to be something like a novel, like a comic novel type of situation, a graphic novel. Asked for $981.25, which was fully funded as well. And that was all of them this year. So
between all of the requests, it looks like actually overfunded the overall request, right? That's fantastic.
Yeah, this year was a little different in where we had like not as many applicants from my understanding as previous years. So we were able to fully fund all of them for the most part, which was great. The only one was the portable desks. Typically we put a stipulation that there's no furniture, because it sounds like in previous years it's been a lot of like very desks or standing desk or wobble chairs. So this year we had just put in like a stipulation of no furniture, and this one seemed a little bit different based off of what he was asking, so we were like, we'll give him some. Yeah.
Great.
So I at least helped him out a little bit.
I know you weren't the original presenter, so if you
Yeah.
can't answer this, like,
Yeah.
totally not a big deal. But in looking at like grant request amount awarded, there were 2 people that were given $200 more than they had requested. How did what they requested change as the discussion happened, or how did you determine more was needed?
Yeah, so during our meeting, we had thought out like the cost of certain things, and kind of also went online and looked up like what is the cost for these items. And we had thought that $300 for the material that the one teacher was requesting was low and maybe not enough materials. I know some teachers are like, well, I don't want to like ask for money, so we're like, let's give them a little bit extra, hopefully get them a little bit more materials. And if they don't use all of the money, that money is returned to the foundation as well. So if they feel like, I don't need all of this, it goes back into the fund.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Great. Team, any other questions?
Just a comment that they have their annual event coming up in January.
Yeah, the annual event, January 31st, which it's going to be at the Dash Center. So that's exciting that last year the last 2 years, I think, wasn't able to be in Onalaska. So yeah, that's exciting. It's our biggest fundraising opportunity. So yeah, everyone come.
I'll just jump in and say we are extremely excited to have it back in Onalaska. That was one thing as I'm part of the Onalaska Education Foundation too, and that was one thing we've talked about the last 2 years is just how hard it's been not being in Onalaska. So we are very excited to be back, and the Dash Center is beautiful, and they've worked very well with us. So we're excited.
Nice.
I'll make a motion to approve the Quad Deck Innovative Grant recipients from the School District of Onalaska as outlined in enclosure 16 OEF and presented by our representative from the foundation.
Second.
Motion by Bridget, seconded by Tracy, to approve the Onalaska Education Foundation Claude Deck grants for 2025 as detailed in enclosure 16 OEF. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? With much gratitude, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. Thank you.
Good side erosion.
Okay, we'll keep the theme going with donations. Coming back to item 10, and I'll hand it over to you, Ben.
All right. Well, in the spirit of Thanksgiving week, it's great pleasure to be able to share our thanks and gratitude for the following donations: $1,500 from the Lacrosse Autism Foundation for the updated sports league, adapted sports league. $1,000 from Susan Carson for the Onalaska High School Engage program. 1,000 pairs of socks from Bombas for student and staff at Northern Hills Elementary. And lastly, 500 boxes of crayons from Walmart Onalaska for Irving Perch Elementary. Thank you to all of them.
Yeah, it's really impressive. It's a very diverse list of donations. Kelly, you have to show off your socks at some point, but with much gratitude to all of the donors. So,
Did I say that right? Bombas?
Yeah, you did a great job. Let's move into student representative and administrator reports. We'll start with Karina.
Today I'm going to talk about two things. So I'll start with the foods classes at school are going to be baking hundreds of cookies, brownies, and other treats this week for the Onalaska and Holman Community Thanksgiving Dinner. This is a great opportunity for students to apply what they have been learning in their classes to a real-life community event. I saw on the news that students at Central High School had done this in the past week. My cousin is the teacher there, and she said it was a really great opportunity for the students to cook a lot and provide for the community. So I'm excited for Onalaska students to be doing similarly. And then also, as construction is finishing up the high school, I wanted to highlight a few of the improvements throughout the school from like a student perspective. So the music classes have been a part of the new construction, and an awesome part of the classes that we've been utilizing is the smartboard. We get to listen to our music and watch like real symphonies and bands play our music, view lessons and assignment plans, and then work out rhythms like with the drawing part. And when we come back from break, I know some of the bands in the orchestra class, we're going to be using a new recording system that's built into the classroom to record our songs and send it into a state music competition. And this is really exciting because in the past we've just had to like record on our phone and it's not the best quality. So it's really cool to have like a professional level recording system. Another great part of the construction has been the science classroom, and it's really nice to have like a classroom part separate from the lab space because you can really like focus and sit at desks, listen to your teacher, and then during the lab part, go to a separate part of the room so students aren't distracted by like the spinny seats and such. And another thing is most of the classrooms, no matter like if there's been construction in them or not, have gotten all new smart boards, which is really nice because the old ones, they sometimes like were laggy and teachers couldn't always draw on them. And then I know some classrooms also have gotten like whiteboards all throughout the room, so students get to like stand up during lessons and go to the whiteboard and like work out math problems, so like draw graphs. So that's been a really good part of the construction as well.
Appreciate it. Good highlights. Jared?
And one of the most important parts, she said it's almost done. So, we have a really neat activity going on at the high school tonight, the basketball community night for their boys basketball program is hosting. And I say neat opportunity. I love it when our high school kids are put in positions of working with younger kids, being role models, being mentors. It's a really interactive event, and it follows some other examples that our other community groups have done throughout the district. But I love bringing students together with younger students, with families, community members, and it creates more excitement for those kids to then come back and support their role models during games throughout the season. So kudos to our athletic department for doing that.
Jana.
So I wanted to highlight something. Our PTO has been a little more active this year, and some of the things that they've done were they recently were at the tree lighting at Dash Park handing out cookies and representing our PTO. In addition to each month we have what's called WOW. It's our wellness initiative, and they provided healthy treats for our staff a couple Fridays ago, and it's really awesome to see the community that creates when there's food involved and everyone comes to the commons and everyone, it's a nice way to start the day on a Friday too, just in community like that. So we appreciated the treats that the PTO provided. Right now we have some activity, we're in the middle of our Winter One activity or Winter One sports season, which is boys basketball and wrestling. And tomorrow, if you guys are all bored, we have a wrestling meet which starts at 4:30 at Onalaska Middle School. You can come see the new gym, see the wrestling meet in action. It's always fun to see some kids who are wrestling for some of their first times. We allow 6th graders to wrestle, so it's neat to see them try out wrestling for the first time. And we're hosting a couple of schools as well. When you come to the wrestling meet tomorrow, you will also see turkeys that are posted in our commons, and kids in our leadership club put feathers on the turkeys for everything that they were thankful for. There were some 6, 7s, and we asked, what does that mean? And they couldn't really tell us why they were thankful for that. But there are some also really cool things like some of the clubs that we have, teachers, different activities that they do throughout the school. And it's just neat. It's neat to see what kids are thankful for. And it just kind of solidifies why we do what we do when we see what kids come up with what they're thankful for besides the 6, 7s. And then we have our Topper Time enrichment courses, and I know Dr. Burns has talked a little bit about that, but something that I wanted to highlight is our new weight room. And for any of you that have been in the middle school, that's a huge upgrade as to our previous weight room. And it's used, we were counting up the hours today, it's used about 3 to 4 hours a day between 8th grade PE classes and our enrichment Topper Time in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. They're all going into the weight room. And some students need that active energy release throughout the day. And they're learning how to do the lifts and just use the equipment appropriately. And it's really nice to see students have that outlet. We're also talking today after school about starting a weightlifting club twice a week. And that'll be something for students to be able to utilize that after the school day. And it's just a testament to how our community supported our construction project, and just seeing that room being used so often is really neat to see.
Nice.
And that's
Thanks,
all I
Jenna.
have.
Thanks for bringing the latest nonsensical social craze to our board meetings tonight. That's awesome. Todd?
Yes, back on the 11th was Veterans Day, and we celebrated and acknowledged that important day in various ways in our elementary schools, from, of course, wearing red, white, and blue to activities in classrooms, and thank you cards and letters to veterans. We had some panels of veterans come and speak to students, so just a great day. Back on the 11th, we also, since our last board meeting, have had site visits, on-site math professional development with Shannon Keebler. Remember, we started that last year and continue that. That continues to be an extremely valuable experience for our teachers. They get to see her model and get her feedback on modeling and have our questions answered. And it's great to have a full day in each of our buildings for that. So a wonderful thing for our teachers. We've all had our school safety drills, I believe, and we practiced our lockdown. We involved our Onalaska police officers in that as well and got some good feedback. And I know we'll be debriefing on that, and you'll be doing that as well coming up. But those are always good for us to be prepared for any situation. And that was what we did in the past week as well. Planning for our Ames Web winter screening, which starts December 1st through the 12th, so we're getting back into some universal screening for our academics coming up. And good news for Anna Pals, we are moving in tomorrow and over break, and they'll be starting right after break, so very exciting in that regard too. So then just some school-specific things. Eagle Bluff had its annual camping reading night back on the 13th. We had 309 of our 470 students that participated in that evening event, plus all of their family members. So it was very crowded at Eagle Bluff that night. But a very, very awesome event, and thank you to all the staff. We have so many staff that participate and help plan and carry it out. So, and of course, our families for coming and celebrating with us. So I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
So at Irving Perch, one of the most recent events would be the turkey trot for our IP Real Girls and Perch Guys. They're a 4th and 5th grade running club. So they did the turkey trot over the weekend. Also, something that's neat about that group is that our On Ability students created the T-shirts that were worn by our teams. But then also, when I talked with Mrs. Garbers today, who helps to head that off, she said she saw a lot of T-shirts from former Perch girls and or Perch Guys and Real Girls. So it's just a really neat event.
And then just to add on to our $1,000 donation of socks, if you can imagine what you do when you get 1,000 socks dropped off at your school, we decided to have a assembly on National Sock Day, which is next Thursday. We're going to have staff play soccer ball, which is a ball made of socks, and they kick it into laundry baskets, and we're going to hand out socks. Every child gets 2 pairs of socks sent home with them, and then our staff each get at least 1 pair of socks, and then depending on what we have left over from there, you know, we'll save some in the health room and things like that. But we are going all in on these socks. We're excited, so.
Nice.
Did you know you were getting the socks, or how did that come
Well,
about?
so I think it was it August or September, Lish forwarded me an email that was just like, sign up for socks. And so it was very simple to fill out. I filled it out through the Bombas website, and then I totally forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, giant boxes started showing up in our office. And if you can imagine, Jackie and Kristen, they're like, what is this? And I don't know. And so we opened it up, and it was 1,000 pairs of socks. So very excited, very excited. They're really nice socks, good quality.
It was one of those things in the transition of me to Kelly in the role that I was like, oh yeah, go ahead and do this. And then I think I happened to come to Northern the day that they were delivered to, and they're like, you did this, you did this.
I've seen that on TV, like you buy a pair, give a pair. So it's really cool to like see that locally.
Yeah.
I will say that many staff, like both, including myself, have now purchased many more socks from Bombas. So it definitely was a good promotion of just their company and the great things that they do too.
And I think they had some stipulations for qualifying for a donation with like your levels of free and reduced lunch and things like that. So, yeah, lots of socks. Excited about the soccer ball game.
Nice. Okay, those are good updates. Let's move on to a couple of other good updates. We'll start with Jared and update on the building projects at the high school.
I don't believe there's an attachment tonight, but the key thing is that we come back after break, they'll be finishing up the bulk area and the music area. And so we anticipate the choir, the band, the orchestra being in their formal new homes the week of December 8th, with the flooring in the band room, orchestra room finishing over Christmas break because of extended time that they need for that. But after that, it's punch list. So.
Nice.
So I want to thank everybody for their support at our open house recently. Specifically, Kristen did a lot of work to help. She also went back and kind of spot checked the cameras to count that we had over 600 people attend approximately. So that was fantastic. And it was a great way to cap what has been a multi-year project. And so in terms of the construction, we are at, less than 1% of, things yet to be done, just very minimal punch list odds and ends here, things we're waiting on with manufacturers, stuff like that. And so it is a very slow trickle at this point. And so this will, I think, officially be my last construction update to you as a board, and just really want to re-emphasize a number of things. Number one, what stands out to all of our staff and students and families and even community members as they came through is a couple of things. Number one is the quality with which this project was done. Number two is the intentionality. The spaces are very intentionally thought through in terms of how to promote student learning as well as culture within the building. The pod design is a great example of that. But number three, the biggest thing is just what a tremendous, like, visible physical display of the support that we have for public education here in the community of Onalaska. And that is something that we are extremely grateful for, and just really wanted to reemphasize kind of one last time to say thank you to the school board for your continued support, as well as to the greater community watching at home.
I have to comment on the furniture, because I remember way back when talking about, like, they tested all this different furniture to make sure that each class had the right thing. So during the open house, I had to go sit in all the chairs. I took them down. And honestly, like, I mean, students, I feel like, are more apt to learn if they're comfortable. And those, like, triangle chairs, like, you can't, like, lean back on them, like, you know, so you tip over. But they're, like, very comfortable, and yet they give you a little bit of wiggle. So it's really, I think it's important to know how thoughtful even down to the chairs that the students are sitting in. Like, it was very well thought out and planned.
Yeah, thank you.
To your point, there's a lot of folks that be great for sport, and I'll set Dan Dahlquist and Jan, all the hard work getting that done. Market and Johnson's work was incredible. The custodians who probably had to do a whole ton of work, all the teachers, like those disruptions that kind of working out. So a lot of fortitude and strength all around on that. So just great job to your teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Great update. And the last update.
Yes.
Appreciate that. But you're not looking forward to another one.
Another thing to be thankful for.
All right, let's move on to early college credit program and Start College Now. Let's turn it over to Lish.
Yeah, thank you. So this is just for your information, the number of students who have applied and been approved for our early college credit program, which is attending one of our area universities for a college course, or Start College Now, which is attending one of our two-year or technical programs for a course. And just a reminder that this means that students have exhausted all of the things in their career pathway that we have available to them at the high school, and that's what then causes them to apply for the ECCP or Start College Now. And you can see we have a large number that are that had applied for the CNA program. And just a note on that, they're actually doing that outside of their school day. So that takes an extra level of commitment for those students, because that's based on when the courses are available at those institutions. So if you take a look at the second page of that, so you can see what we approved for first semester. We approved about $21,000 of credits, and for second semester, $12,628. And typically, we don't see everybody being able to take everything that we've approved, just because they have to fit it in with their class schedule and with all of the other commitments that they have outside of their school day as well. So I could take questions, or Jared could take questions that you might have.
How do people get to sign up for this, like to take these classes?
Yeah, there's an application program that they go through with their school counselor, and it's, again, they have to show that they have exhausted all of the things in that career pathway that we have at OHS, because if we can offer the course at OHS, then we're not going to pay for them to go take it at a university. And then the credit review committee takes a look at all those applications to ensure the student's going to be successful doing that also.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Lish, it looks like since 2019, 2020, that COVID period, the dollar amounts approved have dropped pretty significantly. Is that fewer students, or are we offering more at the high school, a combination?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both of those. I think we are offering more at the high school. We know that keeping the kids on campus is better, because then they have the opportunity to take 8 classes in a day, versus if they're traveling, then that takes up some of that time as well. But then also maybe fewer students are taking advantage of that opportunity as well. We have seen an increase, though, in some of the Start College Now, so the technical college ones, through a program that we've collaborated with Lori on called College Kickstart, where students that, you might remember Lori, I think, or Jared reported on this last spring, that students can take that if it's something that helps them in their transition program to their post-secondary, if they're a student who has an IEP. So we have some of those students taking advantage of the Start College Now that way as well.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Lori?
No, just if you recall, Shelby Buchanan came and spoke about that program to the board. That's what Lish is talking about. And last year, it was like an incredible success for the students that participated. But we felt like we wanted to run it through what is a natural process for approval for all students before we would make an exception for them to participate through the college kickstart.
So 2 of our students we're taking them through the Start College Now. So just like we do with anything, take it through the regular ed path first and give them that opportunity, so.
Awesome, good stuff. Any other questions, team? Well, Lish, you're not off the hook then. We're going to stay with you for report cards.
That is okay. Thank you, Kristen. Well, you know that we have our district and school report cards that became public on November 11th, and those have been shared with our board and shared with our families at home as well. And just a reminder that this is part of our 5-year strategic objectives, specifically that student engagement, growth, and achievement piece of our pillars. It is a statutory requirement that the DPI issues those report cards for every public school district in the state of Wisconsin. And all of them can be found on the Office of Educational Accountability website for your viewing pleasure. And just a reminder of what test scores go into these report cards. So in 9th and 10th grade, that's the pre-ACT Secure, which tests reading, English, math, and science. In 11th grade, it's the ACT. In 3rd through 8th grade and also 10th grade, it is the Forward exam, and then also the DLM, which is that alternate assessment for students in grades 3 through 11. Those are the scores that go together to make our report card. And as I shared with the board a couple of meetings ago in our board development, a couple of changes in scoring this year. One major one being that they are now normed to the growth instead of the achievement, which for most of our schools showed positive results because, again, it's kind of like getting credit for the growth that you're making, right? But there was no scale adjustment this year like there was last year. So really just that norming to growth is the major change. But then also a little change in the cut scores to the star rating. So as you notice, all of the 1 through 5 stars went up by 1 point in order to earn it, with the exception of you had to go up by 2 points to get to the 3 stars. All of our schools were meets expectations or better in this report card year. So I will share with you the different components and how we did as a district, and then I will hand it to each building administrator to share their highlights as well. So our overall score and ranking was a 77, so that is up from 71.5 last year, so that's a nice increase. We were top 6 in our 18 comparable districts this year, which is the same as last year, and we were top 3 in the region, but getting close to West Salem there, inching up. That resulted in a 4-star rating for us this year. And to give you a little bit about those district details and priority area weights, the real shift that we saw from last year to this year is a decrease of about 2% in our economically disadvantaged from last year. And so then if you recall when we talked during board development, 35% economically disadvantaged is what gives us kind of that even weighting between achievement and growth. So since our economic disadvantage went down a little bit, that shifted a little bit more weight onto our achievement instead of our growth as a district. Each building then will have their own calculation based on each building's economic disadvantage. So it's just a little difference from last year. Our achievement then, we went from 69.4 last year to 75.4, so that is a nice jump there. Again, top 6 in our 18 comparable districts and top 3 in the region, but sneaking up there pretty close to Holmen and West Salem there. So I think it might be anybody's game next year on that one. And then for growth, really strong there. Our growth went from 72.7 last year to 74.6. We were top 5 in our comparable 18 districts and top locally. Something that shows a little bit of picture of that growth is our value added growth. So what you're seeing here on the left, ELA, and on the right is math. And what you want to see is dark blue boxes. You do not want to see the white boxes with the blue outline, because that middle line there of 3.0, that means you are growing the kids at least a year within a year. We want to grow them more than a year within a year. That's how we get that more positive growth score. Our math continued to be strong in that growing them more than that year within a year. And what's positive about this for our ELA, as you are aware, we've done a lot of work on our ELA curriculum in the last year. And last year, our ELA only showed 2 of those squares in that whole line as dark blue. So this is definitely a positive change here, that we're seeing more of them in that dark blue than what we saw last year. A lot of that comes from our 3rd and 4th going to 4th to 5th. And that's where we are starting to see the benefit of that phonics and phonemic awareness instruction that we implemented a couple of years ago. So you might remember a couple of years ago, you asked us, what do we need? And we said we need some time for the work we're doing with our littles to start to show up. We're starting to see that show up now. And then our target group and on track to graduation, our target group, Our target group, we saw some really nice improvement there as well, 56.7 last year to 67.6 this year. So that really points to the work that all of our buildings are doing with really looking at those kids who are in that bottom quartile and focusing heavily on their growth and their achievement as well. And then our on track to graduation went up from 87.2 to 90.3. And just a reminder that that chronic absenteeism and graduation are a lagging score, so that's actually the previous year adding into it. And knowing that we had even better marks in our absenteeism and graduation this past year, I think we'll see that continue to improve. So just overall in the scorecard, as I shared with you, we were top 6 in our comparables in our achievement ranking, top 5 in our growth ranking, and reminder what we were hoping to do by the end of our strategic plan was top 5. So meeting that in growth and close to that in our achievement. So what's the message here? As I said, our achievement went up in both ELA and math, which is a great celebration, and so did our growth, and saw more growth in ELA than in math, which is good. That's where we needed to see it. Our ELA value added, like I said, is where we needed to see that growth, and our math remains strong there. Our target group did really great with that 11-point jump there, and the on track to graduation as well. But the things we need to continue to work on, our ELA is going the right way, but we need to keep on moving with that and continuing our strong Tier 1 curriculum and instructional practices. Our math continues to go well, but we need to continue to build those tiered responses in our MLSS. So what are we doing when Tier 1 is not enough for some of our kiddos? And again, same with our target group. We're going the right direction, but we need to keep making sure that we have great options for kids when the things we have aren't enough for them or aren't working. So with that, I am going to hand it over to our buildings, and we're going to start with Mr. Sainer.
All right.
And you can tell me when to move forward.
Thank you. So yes, I think in all of ours, we have some good news and maybe some points to improve upon, and we certainly have that at Eagle Bluff. Our overall score did go down 1 point, and we maybe are feeling some of the effects of some recalibration of things. However, we are still in that significantly exceeds expectations range, which is fantastic. Our achievement score actually went up a point overall, so that's a positive, I think, for Eagle Bluff. And they were both in overall achievement and growth in math. So I think the general lesson for us is our math is really coming along well, both in growth and achievement. So our area for focus at Eagle Bluff is definitely in ELA. Although the district saw some growth, as Lish pointed out, we did not see that specifically at Eagle Bluff. So we are going to remain focused on that and possibly into, Lish mentioned MLSS, and we need to continue to dig into that. And hopefully as our we get settled into the new curriculum, that will maybe bring us together a little bit more. We might be a little bit unfocused maybe in some of our attempts here. So hopefully this will bring us together, and maybe we'll see some increase there in ELA. So that's really our main point. We had target group showed some good achievement in both math and ELA. However, the growth areas in both for ELA was not where it needs to be as well. So we want to take a look at that growth. Our growth dropped from about 83.1 down to that 76. So we need to take a look at that, make sure we're on track for some growth at our school as well. But yes, we're excited to keep on this challenge and move ahead with our strategic planning that we've done in the summer and see if we can make some difference on our next year's report card. But we definitely have some areas to focus on specifically in ELA.
Okay, and for Perch, just the overall score did increase from meets expectations to exceeds expectations. So we took a look at our initial data here with our guiding coalition and then at a staff meeting and pulled out some highlights too. So what's going well? Our overall score increased by 6.6 points. Also in all of those priority areas of achievement, growth, target group outcomes, and on track to graduation, we saw an increase in all of those areas. And then also our achievement in comparison to the state rose by about 10% between us and other K-5 schools across the state. So that was a celebration for Perch. In terms of what needs to improve, we did see an increase of achievement across all of our subgroups. And then when we looked a little bit further, saw that students with disabilities didn't show as much of an increase in overall achievement. So that's an area of focus for us. And then also just continued focus and proficiency across all students. So even though we did see an increase of scores of achievement across 3, 4, 5, there was a bit of a discrepancy between the amount of growth that was made at each grade level. So I want to come together to make sure that we're seeing growth across each of those grade levels to have an overall increase for all of our students.
At Northern Hills, we also saw an increase in our overall score, almost 4 whole point increase there. And some things just to highlight on this first slide would be that we had the biggest areas of growth in both the growth area and the target group. So the focus there on just what we're doing in our MLSS program and just the support that we're providing to really grow some of those students. Some of the things that we saw was our math growth score increased by 4.8 points and went past the state score or state average. In the ELA growth area, when you look at the value added, our lowest score or our highest score last year was a 2.4, and this new report card, that was our lowest score. So we had huge areas of growth in ELA for all of our subgroups, leading to an overall increase of a 7.6 spot for growth. And then our attendance rates and our chronic absenteeism had increased rates as well. And we had big growth in our ELA, third grade ELA points too. Some areas for improvement that we're looking at is specifically our students with disabilities didn't show as much growth in ELA or math, so something we're focusing on. And then a continued focus just on proficiency and achievement for all students. Our achievement scores are still below what we would hope to see, so it's an area that we're still focusing on.
At the middle school, you can see the report card scores there. And if you go to the next slide, here's some big picture takeaways. Our overall score improved 7.1 points. We were very pleased with that overall jump. Specifically, we saw some moderate gain with ELA achievement, and we saw some significant gain with math achievement. And we also saw a noticeable gain with the achievement of our target group. In terms of where we still need to focus and where our scores kind of didn't really change a whole lot was in the area of growth, both growth overall with all students and specifically growth with our target group for ELA and math. While achievement was decent and small to moderate gains across all those areas, the growth scores were pretty flatlined from last year. And so that'll be kind of the big area of focus for us, knowing that if we can increase that growth, it'll also help increase achievement moving forward.
Great, thanks, Ben.
The high school's up about 5 points. Excuse me. The high school's up about 5 points from last year. What's going well is our growth. It's in the 99.5th percentile in the state, and all subgroups were above the state in both ELA and math. So that was a major celebration for our school. And then thinking about what needs to improve, last year we started focusing on each team having their own specific PD focus, continuing to work on that, kind of narrowing that range of instructional quality within classrooms. I heard that phrase this fall at a workshop. I love it, and it really speaks to what we're trying to do with the videos that we talked about the last meeting from October 31st PD Day.
Questions that you have for us?
More of a comment. I mean, these are impressive. They, went up across the board. Even with, what's also impressive is we're not going to rest on the success that we've had. Like, let's dig deep to find out what it is. I think you mentioned just changing the structure of ELA, the phonics instruction, implementing that. It is not lost on me the amount of extra work, extra training, scheduling, all the things that you're doing at the elementary levels to include that phonics instruction. It's really cool to see that starting to impact, and I think, I believe you're going to see that all the way up, right? As long as we continue to focus on that this year with the implementation of the new ELA across all the way up through 8th grade. I think you saw this coming, everyone in this room, whether you were sitting in the same seat you were last year or the years prior. You're putting in the work, and I'm very proud of that, extremely proud of that. So thank you all for all of that work that you did and for continuing to not rest and know that there's more work to do. It's what makes us, great and makes me proud to sit here. So thank you very much for all of your work, and congratulations to all of you for that.
Thank you.
Great message, and yeah, there's definitely some celebrations here, and I think I know I've sat here for a few years thinking about phonics, right? And boy, that feels like it's going to make an impact. You can see it making an impact, and my other appreciation is that we're already looking ahead to actionable insights. As opposed to just like looking at the score. It feels like the report cards have gotten better from the state level, like in terms of what you can do with them. But like we're thinking about, okay, what do we do now? What's next, right? Which is a fantastic mindset, I think, to come into this with. So thank you.
One little last thought. It kind of expands on what both of you have mentioned, and it seems like kind of across the board, the ELA is where we're a little bit further behind and have the most opportunity for growth. I guess I'm putting that in the growth mindset. I'm wondering, and this is just putting it out there, I don't expect an answer, but we've done great things with like the Shannon Keebler, if I'm saying her name correctly, I hope I am. And I'm just wondering if there's something equivalent that we could be doing in the ELA world to help boost that.
Yeah, great question. Actually, the trainers that we have for both of the different programs that we purchase for ELA provide a similar kind of menu of options for that. So yes, a couple weeks before Shannon Keebler was here, actually, we had our trainers from Amplify provide some modeling in the classroom as well. And then Dr. Burns and I met with our ELA team last week and planning for some similar work on December 9th. So I know we come give you guys the report, but we've been working on this since summer, so.
You guys are on it.
That doesn't mean we know everything, but by the time we get to give you this report, we've already been putting some work in, so.
Wonderful, thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
So at the beginning, you talked about the different assessments that go into the scores that we receive. Can you kind of clarify what is considered growth? Is it an increase in these average test scores, or what constitutes growth, since
Sure.
that's the focus now?
Yeah, so they take like an average of what the average student in that grade scored in the state, and then how did each of our students do compared to that? Did they grow more than that average student or less? That's what they're looking for that growth. They don't tell us what the formula is, so we don't get to calculate that ourselves, unfortunately, but we take our own look at as we use our STAR benchmark, it gives us a calculation called student growth percentile, which if that's a 50% or better, that's similar to what the state tells us for that growing a year within a year. So that's what we use as our internal measure to see if we're on track.
So is that when you talk about the target group, what are you referring to?
Yeah, the target group is what DPI gives us as the bottom quartile, or the bottom 25% of kids. So like, listed them in their scores all the way from the lowest score to the highest score. Even if they're proficient, they might still be in that bottom group. And then that's who we get that other 25% of our score weighted on just how they grow.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any last questions, comments? All right. Well done. Thank you. Move on to action items, and we'll start with donations. Ben.
Okay, so I have the first one. We'd like to share our thanks and gratitude for $4,200 from Kuyak Orthodontics for the district lunch fund. So great appreciation to them for that. And I think Jared's going to speak to the next one.
Last winter, 2010 graduate Kyle Hulse reached out to me, and I'm smiling as I think about it because he was extremely excited from the first conversation and many other conversations after that about giving something back to his former high school. Kyle had an interesting career path. He went into finance, and then from finance went into technology after that. Said he never saw it coming, but it's been kind of a moving here or there, and I think that's a great lesson for our students. Even when you know what you want to do, sometimes you take different paths. But he wanted to donate a robot to our tech ed program as a way for students to learn. And I gave you two different handouts, but I think the really neat thing is under number 1 on the sheet that looks like this, and where it just says that the AI and robotics are shaping the next generation of jobs, from healthcare and manufacturing to space exploration. The modern AI systems built on large language models and computer vision can understand language, see the world, and act on their own. And when combined with robots, it becomes physical AI, machines that think, move, and interact safely with people. Introducing robotics at the high school level connects classroom learning to the technologies driving today's economy. They get more experience in coding, AI concepts, and problem solving, preparing them for university programs and future careers. And if you look on the backside of this, you'll see what's called Spot. It's a robot that almost looks like a dog. This is what he donated to us, Kyle and his wife, Gabrielle. It's amazing how it moves. It moves just like any of us would move, or more smoothly sometimes in the morning maybe some of us would move. But it's absolutely amazing watching. And I think the neatest thing is that Ben Heiser has already challenged kids. What are the applications we could use Spot for within OHS? And Spot's the name of the model. We'll have a different, unique OHS name, but what could we use essentially the robot for at OHS? What are the applications? Which is where the real problem-solving thinking comes from, is how could we use this at OHS? So we're incredibly grateful to both Kyle and Gabrielle, and very excited. The robot came about 4 weeks ago. It became operational about 2 weeks ago, and it's been being used in several of the classes already. So.
What a fantastic gift. I'm only just a little bit disappointed that when you mentioned like the hard, like getting up in the morning, you're looking at me. So I did notice, Jared, but I'm going to let it slide. But the donation's just fantastic, and with so much appreciation. So these are on, are there any questions for Jared or Ben? These do require our approval.
I would move that we approve the donation of Unitree Go-To Pro Robot, or Spot, from Kyle and Gabby Hulse for Onalaska High School, with the comment, like, what an amazing thing for those, well, I'll say kids, but they're not kids, right? But what an amazing gift to give back to us. Really, really spectacular.
Can I ask you to amend your motion to include the donation from?
Oh, we have to do both.
Kuyak.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That's all right, thank you.
That was rude. Also, the $4,200 from Kuyak Orthodontics for the district lunch fund, which is also quite fantastic, and I believe an annual donation from them.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Bridget, to approve the donations, $4,200 from Kuyak Orthodontics for the district lunch fund, and a Unitree Go-To Pro Robot from Kyle and Gabrielle Hulse for Onalaska High School. Any further questions?
How heavy is this thing?
Oh, lightweight. I planned to bring it tonight, but since it was raining.
I thought you were gonna say, come here, Spot.
No, I
He's gonna
planned
trot
to-
out
I
here.
planned to bring it until it was raining. I didn't want
okay,
to take
gotcha.
chances on it.
That would have been incredible.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And those donations are graciously accepted. Thanks, everyone. All right, we'll move into item number 17, which is the OHS course catalog. Jared?
There are no changes since the first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the Onalaska High School course catalog. Should I say for the 2025, 2026?
26.
Or 2026, 2027 school year. That was presented by Jared previously and is outlined in enclosure 17, course catalog.
Second.
Motion by Tracy, seconded by Brian to approve the Onalaska High School course catalog as outlined in enclosure 17 course catalog. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is approved. Thank you, Jared. Board policies.
I would share some commentary on this. This is the policy that was standalone because we weren't able to get it into the original batch. This is a custom policy that we worked with our attorney to create because Neola did not have one of these policies. He analyzed state and federal law, case law, to really strategize to put something together for us, and every word and every sentence in this policy is intentional. That being said, I did receive a couple of questions from board members, and I did ask him, his opinion on that. He shared with me that he wrote this and he felt like the way it is puts us in the strongest position. That said, it is our policy and we can modify it any way that we thought was appropriate. One of those suggestions was, I think a board member did question the word testing and possibly interchanging the word screening as the title of the policy, but that's what I have for you.
Yeah, I'll just touch on that because that was my request, and I agree that words matter and should be intentional. I think, to me, the word testing implies something like we are taking a sample, which not necessarily is what's happening. And in Section 3 definitions, letter B, breathalyzers technically are a testing tool, but in here it is referred to as a screening device twice. So it's just a little contraindicated of how we're phrasing it. Some places it's testing, some places it's screening, and I just want to state that I think it should be consistent throughout the policy.
Just for clarification, the attorney reviewed?
Yes,
Okay.
but I don't think that changing the name of it, if the board felt it was more appropriate to change it to
Screening?
suspicionless alcohol screening versus testing, that's not going to, in my opinion, change the language inside of the policy because, it is somewhat interchangeable in that policy.
Yeah, it's a little tomato for me, but, it does say under the legal basis and scope of policy, it references suspicionless drug testing. So I can definitely appreciate what Bridget's
Yeah.
saying though, as far as
Well,
inconsistent language.
Yep, and that's where, when I reached out to the attorney, he felt, his legal opinion was to put us in the strongest position, he would recommend to stay with testing. However, it's not his policy, it's our board's policy. So that's a small change if you wanted to do that.
I'll just add that I support the policy fully. I think it's a great policy. It's just a matter of the phrasing, and it's not enough for me to object to it on any grounds. I just, the testing part to me seems a little aggressive for what it is.
And it is random, too. I mean, we have suspicionless alcohol testing. It is random testing.
Testing. I guess, living in the world of doing that for several decades, I really think that probably testing would be the most appropriate word to use.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, regardless of the word, I think the intent of the policy and the procedures that will come out of it will be the same.
It's called a breath test, not a breath screening,
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, accurately articulate a couple of questions that I got from board members, and the fact that I did, question that. And I wanted to share that with you.
Were there other questions as well, Ben?
I believe that,
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
a
you had a-
question about really just another part of the title, suspicion-less. But then, the descriptions throughout kind of lend itself to, I'm not sure that made sense, but I asked the question of Ben and Jared, and again, consulting with the attorney, he specifically wanted it to be suspicionless. So, sounds great. I'm happy with what we have right there.
I do have one other question, and this may not have been fleshed out yet, but the final letter H, confidentiality of results. If we're doing this at like the entrance and exit of a dance, how are we maintaining confidentiality for the students, especially if there's a positive result? And if we haven't gotten through that part of the process yet, that's fine. I'm just curious.
Students won't be tested in front of other students.
Okay, so there's like, they'll be randomly selected and then taken elsewhere.
Go through the other door.
Gotcha. Thanks, Jerry.
Any other questions, team?
I think I would move for approval of that policy as it is written.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Brian to approve the suspicionless, let me get the title right, alcohol testing at school dances policy as outlined in enclosure 18, suspicionless alcohol testing. Any further questions or comments?
Roll call, please.
A roll call has been requested.
Brian?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Aaron?
Yes. Policy has been adopted. Thank you, Ben and Eric and Tracy and Mark, for your work on that and for the discussion here tonight as well. Let's move now into the consent agenda. Are there requests for removal of any of the consent agenda items for separate consideration?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Eric, seconded by Mark to approve the consent agenda as presented. I know Abby would like to make some remarks about our resignation request.
Yes, on the personnel report, you'll see that.
Or retirement
Sarah-
request, I'm sorry.
Yes, you'll see that Sarah Simmons is retiring. Sarah is, has been at Irving Perch for 24 years, 19 years in first grade, and then the last 5 years as an academic interventionist. And so for quite some time, we've known that Sarah will be retiring eventually. She sprinkled it here and there with when I retire 5 years from now, eventually. And then it became next year at the end of this year. And even though we knew it was coming, we still kind of thought it wouldn't happen until she emailed on Monday. She emailed Sonia and I with her formal notice, and I still took a moment and just collected myself and walked down to her room to ask her how she wanted to share with staff. We had a staff meeting last Wednesday, and I let her know that even though we usually start with celebrations, we're going to save it till the end because people needed to experience a range of emotions when a Sarah Simmons retires. So we saved it to the end, just so that people could celebrate with her and also say that that can't happen, But just Sarah is an incredible educator. She's supportive, engaging, data-driven, incredibly intuitive, reads people, comes alongside to support even though, you know, they don't even ask. Like, she just knows what people need, not only students, but staff and then families as well. She's been a formal and informal mentor. She gives a great makeover to a spreadsheet that doesn't look lovely. She's gifted at that. Organizes many PD at staff meetings and then sneaks snacks into students' lockers when they don't know it. So she does it all. And so even when she made her transition to academic interventionist after being a first grade teacher, she wasn't quite sure if she could work with the older kids, but come to find out that the learning curve was less than she anticipated, because when you care about kids, it doesn't matter how old they are. So we're just really appreciative of Sarah and the time that she served at Irving Perch. We're going to miss her immensely, give her a hard time until the end of the year, letting her know that we can't let her go, but just very happy for her and happy that we can enjoy this last year with her as well. So congratulations to Sarah.
Very good. Thank you, Abby. Okay, we do have a motion on the table, consent agenda, motion by Eric, seconded by Mark, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Are there any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We have no further business.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion from Bridget, seconded from Eric to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned.